Hey guys, it's your boy Zen and welcome to the first ever Cyberpunk 2077 news video on my channel. I'm super duper excited for the release and there is less than 9 freaking days left. So without further ado, let's get right into the news. Recently, around 2 days ago, Alana Pierce, a very small YouTuber with I think 500,000 subscribers, did an interview with journalists from IGN and GameSpot who both had played a whopping 16 hours preview of Cyberpunk 2077 in 2 days. It's a 55-minute video, it's pretty long. Link is in the description if you want to see the whole thing for yourself. Many topics were discussed and I believe most of them you should already know if you're watching this video. However, there are some things that I believe are worth mentioning. Firstly, they both loved the game and said that they had never seen a game as huge and expensive as Cyberpunk 2077. You know why this is significant? Because there are already so many amazing open world titles like The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5. This definitely also puts to bed the fears that the Cyberpunk 2077 world and map might be small. Staying on the same interview, previously many fans had observed that in the preview trailers and gameplay, Night City kinda looked empty and lifeless and there wasn't much people around. However, contrary to that observation, both journalists were actually concerned about the crowds in Night City, mentioning that the NPC population was actually pretty dense and sometimes they had to even elbow people out of the way to reach their destination. I sincerely hope this is not prevalent throughout the entire game and it's only seen at like small little spots and areas in cities as I kinda get claustrophobic when there are too many people around. And imagine being in first person, it's just gonna make it worse. Furthermore, the journalists emphasized that even though this was a first person game, it is definitely not a first person shooter game where you can just run and gun and kill everyone. They said especially in early game, enemies have much higher health and deal much more damage, forcing you to strategize and play differently and much more smartly, which is a great thing to hear. However, both journalists were not really fond of the swordplay they experienced while playing the game. But in my opinion, from the gameplays and previews that we have seen, I believe swordplay looks much more cooler and much more fun compared to the gunplay that we have seen in the trailers. Furthermore, Braindance was mentioned in a positive light, citing change of pace as one reason why they found it interesting. This was especially a huge relief for me, as Braindance kinda looks slow and boring to me personally when watching it in the previews and trailers. It was also mentioned that there is sex and violence everywhere, more than any other game that they have played. It's absolutely delightful to hear. Basically that is all I have for that interview. If you want to see the full interview, it is linked down in the description. Moving on to bigger and better news, Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer. Is there going to be a multiplayer? When Cyberpunk 2077 was first announced many moons ago, multiplayer was out of the question and single player was the only thing that there was ever gonna be. However, we now know that multiplayer started out as a concept exploration and later entered into full development. Speaking in an investor call this past week, CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Kaczynski, I think, said regarding Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer, "So first, we don't call it modes. It's a separate dedicated production, a big production. We think about it as a standalone product." If this kinda seems familiar to you, it's because it's how GTA Online functions with GTA 5. First of all, I'm just extremely glad CD Projekt Red are doing a full-blown standalone Cyberpunk multiplayer. The question then arises, do you have to buy the multiplayer as a separate product, or will it be a free DLC release? I feel it will be a free DLC release as it's already been confirmed that multiplayer will have microtransactions. I'm okay with that if that's the case as microtransactions are usually, optional. However, what I'm not too pleased about is that the Cyberpunk multiplayer might not be released till 2022 sadly. However, do take note that this info is pretty old as it is from a Q&A from January this year. Overall, I'm just glad that there is going to be a Cyberpunk multiplayer. I've kinda missed playing open world online, especially after how crazy GTA Online has gotten and how it's not become as fun anymore. Next up, it's also been confirmed that there will indeed be a nudity censor option. This will definitely come in handy for any streamers playing the game. However, I obviously do not recommend that anyone turn that option on so you can experience the game in its utmost glory. Actually, staying on the same subject, was a sex scene in Last of Us 2 counted as nudity? And finally, the release times for Cyberpunk 2077 all around the world are on screen as shown, so you can see exactly what time you can start playing the game. That's all the news I have for today for you guys. I will definitely be doing a full walkthrough of this once the game does come out, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed the first Cyberpunk 2077 news video. Like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.